Why did they have to fuck this one up so bad? They finally made the Pokemon game I always wanted, and they did so in the worst possible way. Hello there, Gamerinos and Gamerinas. Welcome to UnicornStorm. This is Rady, and today I'm giving you my honest first impressions of the new Pokemon Crimson and Violet. Another game where you collect a bunch of these weird little critters and have them fight each other to become the best there ever was. And another entry that was sold in 2 different versions, even though it becomes less and less necessary, what with online trading and stuff. But before I dive into all my thoughts and criticisms, let me set the stage. I'm not really that much into Pokemon. Of the mainline games, I only played the original Red version and a bit of Pokemon Y before it got really boring, and Arceus before it got really boring. I actually played more of the spin-off games than the mainline games, like Pokemon Stadium, both Pokemon Snaps, Pokken Tournament, Detective Pikachu, Pokemon Go, even Pokemon Cafe. Not that this one needed to be a Pokemon game. I have always been interested in this franchise, but not really involved in, well, anything of it. I only bought Arceus because it was kind of an open world Pokemon, where you could find and catch Pokemon in real time. Something I wanted since I played the original, and I was disappointed because of its emptiness and shallowness. And I still wanted all the traditional Pokemon stuff in it as well, just inside this open world with Pokemon freely roaming the landscape. So this new Pokemon game intrigued me once more. A traditional Pokemon world entirely comprised of open areas. And I didn't really need for it to be a true open world. I don't need a Skyrim-like Pokemon where I can collision glitch my way up every mountain. And I don't need a million square miles of wilderness. I would have been satisfied with a bunch of open areas connected to each other, with towns and Pokemon gyms in between. But, well, the game did go the extra mile and created an actual open world. And the whole concept is amazing. You can go wherever you want, whenever you want. You can explore every nook and cranny of this world and find hundreds of different Pokemon there. Well, I don't know about hundreds, but a whole bunch of them. This game is fucking huge. So it hurts even more that this game is borderline unplayable. This game has a horrible frame rate with constant freezes and stuttering, even though this game still looks like a Wii game, with low-res textures everywhere and even lower-res sprite work for objects in the distance. A lot of the background art and faraway objects and structures are ugly as hell. The draw distance is pathetic. You can watch the grass growing. And of course it uses the Switch's patented low frame rate animations for everything that's farther away than 2 meters. Character models, parts of the environment, textures or shadows are flickering in and out of existence. And since you can now freely control the camera most of the time, well, this comes with its own issues. Often enough, animations do not start properly, characters are stuck in place and fade away for some reason, and a lot of the mechanics are either not working properly or are just badly designed. Using the map is unintuitive and cumbersome because you can't select anything from the world map view, and as soon as you zoom in, the orientation changes. Jumping over barricades feels weird, interacting with the correct entity is often enough a hassle, and how hard can it be to have your character throw the damn Pokeball at the Pokemon you're aiming for? Yeah, the auto-aim targets the Pokemon closest to you and not the one you're looking at, and well, there is a system to circumvent it. You can lock onto Pokemon, but you have to stand directly in front of it, like 1 meter away. And then it isn't even a true lock-on. Was it too much to ask for an actual lock-on system? where you just press the button and then you lock on to the closest Pokemon within your character's cone of vision and use the right thumbstick to cycle through your targets. Now we have to deal with this fucking system. And of course, fights still use the same 2 or 3 canned animation for every attack. Pokemon still just dance around with a good bit of distance between each other, and then a magical effect just happens and that's the whole attack. How can such a large, ambitious game appear so lazy? But I could excuse the lazy battle animations. And I could even look past the horribly strong texture scaling if the game just ran smoothly. Because the visual design itself is actually rather nice. While most of the wilderness isn't too special, it looks quite pretty and there are some neat places you can discover. Towns are colorful and distinct from each other, and there are a lot of minor little details and decoration and just things to spice up the whole visual design. Like all the phone cases you can get, the different modifications to your appearance you can acquire, or all the food you can find. There is beauty to be found in this game. It's sadly not in the things you spend most of your time looking at. But what is it you actually do in this game? Well, it is a Pokemon game, so of course it's collecting all the Pokemon and becoming the new champion stuff. But for a while now, Pokemon games have to have stories. The first game was simple. Travel the world, collect a bunch of creatures, get stronger, defeat a gym leader in every town you visit and become champion at the end. Nowadays, there has to be a greater story, with champions chosen by God himself or personified forces of nature about to do things, which doesn't really fit the honestly monotonous gameplay that ironically never truly evolved past the first few entries. Sure, we got one or another gimmick in the later entries, a new Pokemon type or new temporary evolutions here and there. And while they did offer minor changes to strategy, they didn't really change up too much of the overall gameplay. Well, and this game is kinda in the middle. It starts with some mystery, with some story, where you get the new legendary Pokemon just handed to you pretty much immediately, after a scripted story sequence where you had to follow it through a cave, where invisible walls prevented you from straying too far from the critical path, where the game didn't even allow you to open your menu to change up your active Pokemon roster, even though you were able to fight in these caves. Well, at least the Pokemon weren't aggressive, so there wasn't a chance that you could be ambushed. And after 5 minutes of that, the legendary Pokemon just stuck with you, destroying all mystery that may have been built up in the beginning. Honestly, this should have just happened later in the game. Because the whole setup of this game is that you enrolled in this Pokemon Academy. And the game pretends that this is one of those high school simulators where you have to attend classes and get sent on assignments. But that's really not it. The game could have used this academy to naturally guide players through the game world, with a sort of main quest where you come across this legendary Pokemon at one point. But, well, yeah, it didn't. Because after yet another small scene at the university, the game opens up and you are sent out into the world to do whatever you please. There are 3 main quests in this game. The expected and obvious one would be to become champion, to fight the 8 gym leaders and defeat the Elite Four. And you can pretty much tackle them in any order you want. Well, kinda, but I'll get to that. The next quest is about the new evil organization in this game, Team Star. And you are tasked with finding their hideouts and destroying them, defeating their adjutants, and bringing an end to this organization. And the last quest is connected to your legendary Pokemon. Because that one wants you to find special locations guarded by Titan Pokemon, where you can find magical herbs to upgrade your legendary Pokemon and to acquire new traversal abilities. Now, there is no order in which you have to tackle all your assignments. You can just travel from gym leader to gym leader, you can focus completely on destroying Team Star, or you can search for the Titan Pokemon. Or you can just mix and match, do one of this and then one of that, in your own tempo. That said, while the game doesn't arbitrarily prevent you from going anywhere in the world, there are of course a bunch of hurdles or natural barriers. First off, there is no level scaling in this game. Each area contains Pokemon in a certain level range. Of course, the areas closest to the academy have lower leveled Pokemons, while the areas farther away contain higher level Pokemon. So while it is possible to immediately travel to a late game area, you're not gonna accomplish much by doing so. Well, there are a lot of collectibles to find in the open world, so you can stock up on late game abilities that you can then craft yourself and teach to your Pokemon. And of course you can unlock fast travel points for later use. Or visit late game towns early to acquire higher level equipment. Another problem are areas that you just can't reach by normal means. By doing the Titan Pokemon quest, your legendary Pokemon learns new moves for exploration, like climbing, swimming or flying, so you are required to play this quest to complete the other ones. At least if you don't want to exploit some of the many glitches. And I do like this approach. These three main quests are very much in the original Pokemon spirit, and they kinda distract from all the grinding you have to do to build up your team. And even the constant battling isn't as mind-numbing as it has been in previous entries, because you can choose your battles, you can see the Pokemon running around in the wilderness. You can pick and choose your battles, well, in theory, because constant pop-up means that groups of Pokemon will just appear in front of you. Even trainer battles are less annoying because trainers don't force you into a battle anymore. They are still standing around in the wilderness and they are clearly marked as trainers who want to battle you as soon as you approach them, but now you have to engage. You have to speak to them first before the battle begins. Which is fine. It kinda makes some of the set pieces from earlier games impossible to replicate. You can't just put a bunch of them in a gym to block the way to the gym leader anymore. And this has its ups and downs. But now this game has to do something different. So now you have to complete a test before you can fight the gym leader. And this comes in the form of mini-games, which is fine. It adds to the world building and gives the towns and the gyms a bit more depth. In earlier games it appeared that everything was designed around people fighting each other. Now there is a bit more culture behind it. Not too much, but it's a start. But yeah, the trainers not forcing you to fight anymore is also just another attempt at making games more friendly. You see, back in the day, games weren't afraid to give you a bit of snark and to be a bit mean. It seems nowadays developers think everyone is too fragile for that, so games are always encouraging and friendly. Your rival has been a good friend for a few games now. And in this game, they even chose the weaker Pokemon. Look, that asshole Gary in the first game took the one with an advantage over your starter. And now your new best friend even gives you a leg up. But yeah, it's fine, it isn't really a criticism of the game, just something I noticed. But damn, I'm really torn on this game. Well, no, I'm not really torn. This is a game I couldn't recommend to anyone. Because it's so broken, because it's so lazily designed on a technical level. The open world itself is great, there's so much to do, so much to find. There are so many Pokemon, and this approach on the champion's journey, on finding and catching them all, is what I always wanted from this franchise. And you can see that at least part of the developer team really cared about this game. With all the little details, with all the little tidbits of world building, with how the music during fights changes depending on in what region you're fighting in. The music overall is pretty good. It's different when you're just on foot traversing the world or when you're riding your legendary Pokemon. It's different during the day than during the night. And yeah, this game has a day and night cycle and also different weather effects that affect some of your Pokemon's moves and of course spawning rates for different Pokemon. But yeah, music. While there are many moments where the music just lazily fiddles on in the background, there are also moments where the music really emphasizes what is happening. And I think the best example for that is during the gym leader fights, when they use the newfangled crystallization gimmick to boost up their final fighter. And as for the feature itself, well, it's here. You can use it to buff one of your Pokemon for one fight. And it looks kinda neat, but not always. And there is a bit of strategy involved, but I wouldn't have missed it if it weren't here. But yeah, it's fun to roam the wilderness. It's fun to find all the Pokemon, to build up the perfect team, to battle other trainers, to beat all the gym leaders. There's everything here you want from a Pokemon game. There's even online co-op and special raid fights. So there's just a lot to do in this game. In a good way. And I'd love to recommend this game to everyone if it wasn't running so fucking bad. I really hope they fix it. I really hope they patch it, they fix the frame rate, they kinda increase the draw distance, but I doubt they will do it. So I guess all I can say is keep an eye on it. If it gets fixed, then buy it without hesitation, but keep away from it if it doesn't. With that said, I wish you the greatest of days. That's it from Rady, and I hope to see you again on the next game.